Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be going over again Tourmaline. This is going to be the second video in my series on my Telegram bot library for the Crystal programming language. Now, in the last video we went over setting up a basic project, getting an Echo bot up and running, dealing with BotFather and getting a token. So if you haven't seen that video, feel free to click the link in the description. It'll take you there. In this video, we're going to be going over specifically inline queries and handling them using Tourmaline. Now, if you aren't familiar with what an inline query is, if we just go over here to this test bot that I set up so I can use it as a test bed. An inline query is basically you're able to query the bot from within the chat. So, for instance, you can do Jiffy search using this, and using an inline query, you can search and it'll give you results, and as you scroll down, it continues to populate the list. So it lazily loads things. You can choose one and it'll send it, and that's an inline query. You can use them for all kinds of things. Sending pictures and searching for them is just one of many. I've seen translate bots. I've seen bots that do games using inline queries. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. So that's what we're going to be going over today, just a very basic inline query bot. It's going to just show a couple options for sending things. If you want to follow along, you can check the code going to Tourmaline examples inline query bot right here, and that'll have all the code for what we're going to do in this session. So, without further ado, let's get started. Jump into the terminal. So jump into the Tourmaline. We are gonna jump into the Tourmaline. Let's initialize a new Crystal project. So we're gonna create a inline query bot, and let's open it up in Vim. And give us a little bit more room over here. All right, so first thing, of course, we need to add our dependency. So we're going to do dependencies. Vim always does this to me. If anyone knows how to stop it from doing that in YAML files, I'd be very happy if you dropped a comment in the video in the comment section below. So we're gonna include Tourmaline and GitHub Watson Tourmaline branch master. Once again, branch master not important. You could also choose the current version of Tourmaline, which, as of the time of this recording, the last released version is 0.13. Will probably be changing in the near future. I am working on a CLI for Tourmaline to make generating new projects a little bit easier, and also integrating your bot with a database, because right now that's kind of a hassle. So yeah, if you want to put it in a version number, you can do that there, but I'm not going to. Go back to the command line. Let's run shards install, get all that, come back, and let's do our basic setup here. So require Tourmaline. We're gonna set this is a class. It's gonna inherit from Tourmaline client. Could do our initialization down here. So bot equals inline query bot dot new mv API key. Once again, if you don't know what I'm doing right now here, I'm just going over the basic setup that I did last time. So if you take a look at my first video, it'll kind of explain this for you. And pay no attention to how terrible I am at moving around in Vim. I haven't been using it all that long. I'm still kind of getting used to it, so bear with me. Okay, so we've got our basic thing set up here. Now let's actually get into it and start creating our inline queries. So kind of like with how with commands, I had a special annotation for that. For inline queries, there's also a special annotation. So what we can do is do on inline query and just do a method here. That takes a context variable, just like the commands do. And this is going to be the handler for our inline query event. You can only have one inline query handler. I should actually probably update the code to enforce that. But you can only have one handler for inline query events, and it needs to have an answer. So CTX has an answer property. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and create our result set. So as you can see here, when I go to like a GIF search, it returns a whole list of different things. These are all like popular ones. You can search for something in specific. So something I use a lot. Face palms, because people are dumb. So, I don't see my favorite one, which is the Ryan Reynolds face palm, but this is pretty good. But anyway, so as you can see, it's returning a whole bunch of results, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So what we need to do is create a result set. And there's a special helper method in Tourmaline for this. So we're going to create results, and we're going to use the query result builder. Now what the query result builder is it's basically just a collection of inline query results that allows you to create them in a more simple way. Theoretically, I mean, you can just create an array of inline query results and pass them in, and it'll work just fine. This just makes things a little bit easier, so that's what we're going to do. Now, the first thing we're going to do is take a look at the documentation. Not because I need to, but because I want to show you what we have here. So if I go to query result builder, we can take a look at all of the methods that we have on here. And I got a message from Telegram. So there's several here, and these will line up with more or less what's available in the Telegram bot API here. And you can see over here on the side, we've got inline query result article, photo. If I scroll down here, you can see we've got cached audio document, GIF, MPEG 4 GIF, photo, sticker, video, voice, And then we've got non-cached versions of all those, plus a few more like location, game. So the cached ones take an ID, which is a ID of a cached, or no, actually no. The audio file ID in this case is the ID of the cached audio file. So if you want to send something that's already been sent before, you send a cached one and you pass in an ID. If you don't want to send one that's already been sent before, I guess all the cached ones are down here and all the non-cached ones are up here. But like we've got inline query result GIF, which takes a whole bunch of different properties. All of these properties can be passed in directly into this inline query result thing. So cached document. I need to probably update the documentation a little bit here to give you a better idea of the options that are expected. But basically the options get passed directly into the initializer. So if we want cached, or actually we don't want anything cached. Let's say we're going to go with article to begin with. So if I go look for inline query result article, these are the parameters that it takes. Title is required. We have all these ones. So let's go ahead and start with this and go from there. So we're going to do builder.article. And then inside of here, we're going to give it an ID. We're going to give it a title. We're going to give it a input message content object. I do need to update this to make it a little bit easier. But for right now, you need to do input message content.new. Unless, let me see if I'm lying. So as you can see, I built this, but I still check the documentation constantly because there's just too much here for anyone to keep in their head all the time. So if I just go into the source here, we can look at inline query result article. I passed it. Yeah, and as you can see, input message content is an input message content object, and it doesn't have the ability right now to be anything other. So I would like to change this and make it so that you can just pass in a string, because then it will automatically convert it to like an input text message content, which is actually what we need here. So input text message content.new, click. Now this value right here, as you're going to see, is what's going to be sent to the user when they click on your query result. And last thing we're going to give here is a description, and we're going to make it a string. We're going to say your query, and we're going to return the query. So that's the only result we have for now, but that is enough to get started with. So if we do ctx.answer results, we've got our inline query bot, and it's using our API key. Run it, cross your fingers, hope for the best, and I messed up. Input. Of course I can't spell. Is it right now? Yes. Wow. I'm really on a roll here, aren't I? Message. Let's see. INPUTTAXT message content. Okay. That should be good. And yes, I clear my screen a lot. I do not like looking down at the bottom of the screen for some reason. It looks like it's working now. And it is. Now, something that is important is that you turn inline mode on for your bot. You can do this by going to your bot settings, inline mode, and then you'll click turn inline mode on. It's already on for me, so you don't have to do that, or so I don't have to do that. But you need to turn inline mode on, and then you can also set an inline placeholder. So if I want to say type something, now when we use my bot, it's going to have type something as a placeholder. So let's go back over to my bot, all the way down here. And now we should have inline mode. So if I do Watson test bot, it says type something, and there is our inline query. So, and you can see if I click it, it sends click. So that is extremely simple. Now let's go add something else. How about sending a photo? So let's go back over to the documentation. And we're going to send an inline query result photo. So you can look at the documentation for it here. We're going to exit, go back into Vim, go down here, builder.photo. We're going to set the ID to, if I can figure out my keyboard, I'm going to set a caption for the photo to, how about, yeah. We're going to send the Telegram logo. And photo URL, I have this prepared and ready to go. It's going to be telegram.org/img/t_logo.png. And then the thumb URL is going to be the exact same thing. We're not going to actually set an explicit thumbnail. Now, let's build again and run. Go in here. So this is a problem you might have, and it's actually good that I'm showing this probably. It will cache results. So if you end up seeing something that, or you don't end up seeing something that should be there, that your results are probably coming back as cached. You just gotta, you can wait for the cache to expire. I'm pretty sure you can actually set you can set a cache time for the answer callback query. So the answer callback query method is what's being called No, that's wrong documentation. So answer callback query is what's being called here. Actually, no, it's answer inline query. Answer callback query. Is there a way to set cache time for that? Yeah, answer inline query. There we go. So there's a cache time. It defaults to 300 seconds. You can set that as low or high as you want. Just keep in mind that you, like, with a lower value, you can end up with more requests, which I think can end up rate limiting you. Not 100% sure on that, but I'd keep it default, at least when the bot is running in production. When it's in development, you can keep it low so that you don't have to deal with caching. So why not do that? Answer inline query. We're going to set the cache time. This is something that's not in the current code online, but and that should run. And there you go. So let's go back here. You can see though, we've got our item there, so we can click it and it'll just send it for us. Beautiful. Well, let's add one more thing. How about a GIF? Some people say GIF. I beg to disagree. Hate me all you want. So that's as simple as builder.gif. We're going to set the ID. We're going to set the GIF URL to there we go. That's kind of a mouthful, but this should work. And then we're going to delete that. And that should work. telegram.org/img/tl_card_we-can-do-it.gif. Now, let's exit. Let's run. Let's go ahead and query our bot again. And there we go. So this time, it's a GIF. Even though it's not actually animating, it is that is a GIF, as you can see right there. So that's pretty much it. That is how you handle inline queries. They're really simple to do. You can imagine with the query result builder. So on inline query gets called every single time inline query is called, and inline query is called basically every time a new character comes in. With cached results, I don't think you actually get the inline query request because it goes directly to Telegram and then comes back. So you're not actually making a request there. But basically every keystroke, it's calling this. So if you were to keep the query result builder outside of the method, and maybe every time a character is input, you like search a database for some things and you add some things to the query result builder or remove them or whatever. You can like dynamically update them. There's there's all kinds of things that you can do, and you can check out the documentation to see how to do that. Basically, it all comes down to the inline answer inline query method. No more than 50 results per query are allowed, so that's why they have the offset down here. So pass the offset that a client should send in the next query with the same text to receive more results, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do with inline query mode. It's really cool. Go play around, experiment. If you do end up creating a bot using this, and specifically using inline queries, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'd love to take a look at it. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for joining. It really is fun being able to do this and talk my way through my projects and to see your response, feedback. So if you liked this video, please thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.